time for another monthly update. Welcome. It is the end of April and it has been a good 4 weeks since I last did it to you all. I am actually walking to a writer event where I'm going to be meeting with a group of writers all from Edinburgh, Glasgow and the hinterland, and we're going to be chatting about all things writing and bookish, so I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be great fun. I apologise if there's a little bit of road noise as I'm walking up a busy street on the way. There's a light breeze, it's a little bit grey, but I have come out without a thick coat on for the first time in ages. Actually, yesterday it was a beautiful day and I actually sat and had a picnic at the park at lunchtime, so it really does feel a lot more spring-like. But there has been a freezing wind here of late, and so every time I venture out without a thick coat, I regret it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, today I won't. So I knew that April was going to be a very busy month for me, writing-wise, and it has been. There has been a lot on the go. So I actually wrote the full first draft of Steel and Surrender, which is book 3 in the Sons of Mull trilogy. The book is written, I've done my big self-edit, and it is now with the editor. I am now ploughing through the third round of edits on Blood and Claw, which is my next romantasy, which is out in September. It is going really well and the story is really taking shape, but because I was working on 2 projects this month, it's kind of slowed me down a little bit. So it's really great now to have Steel and Surrender off with the editor so I can actually just focus on one thing. I haven't had any writer events this month. I will have in June. I've got Authors Invade Glasgow in June, but this month has actually been all about the writing, all about the books. I tend to front load my years so that beginning of the year is where I get all the writing done, so that then theoretically I can cruise a little bit later on. Well, that's the theory anyway. I can't believe in my earlier missive I didn't tell you all about the release of Ruin and Redemption. So it's just over a week ago now that one went out into the world. That is book 2 in the Sons of Mull trilogy. Had a lot of fun writing Ruin and Redemption. Especially like a bad boy hero, which a hero is, and I also like a really strong heroine, and this one is particularly interesting because she's a weaver. And so she's very ambitious, she has plans for the future, and unfortunately this man arrives just at the wrong time to derail them all. At the right time, because the catalyst of meeting Alan is what Fiona needs in order to really face herself and really decide what direction she wants her life to go in. Been a really interesting series for me to write in many ways, because it becomes clearer and clearer to me the more books I write, the more important to me it is that the character growth, the character arc, the themes that are not just the romance but everything else about discovering who you are, about making a fresh start, about making a stand. All these things are important and they're universal to all human beings. So I really love incorporating these in my stories. Are always the stories I really enjoy reading as well. I always think my favourite stories are the ones that come with a really juicy romance, but a really good helping of self-discovery and a journey to self-awareness. Actually reached Waterloo Place now, and look at the beautiful Balmoral Hotel. Isn't it stunning? Right, so continuing along onto Princess Street. I did want to chat a little bit about Steel and Surrender. This one has another working career heroine. It's a little bit different too, because the heroine, Breda, is actually a blacksmith. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking, that doesn't sound realistic at all. There couldn't have been female blacksmiths back in the medieval period, but I'm here to tell you that you would be wrong to assume that. There are actually very few records of medieval women who were not wealthy. Actually, there are very few records of medieval women at all, unless she was actually the wife or daughter of someone famous, or she was a saint, or she did something particularly bad. And so for that reason, we don't actually know a lot about what happened. So I like to think that I am filling in the blanks. And actually, although I don't have a time traveling machine to go back and see how people lived, I have done a lot of research and discovered that, of course, running a forge was not a one-man affair. So the blacksmith, who was usually a man, would have a family. He would have a wife, he would have daughters and sons, and often the son would take over from him once he got too old to actually be able to swing the hammer properly. But Often his wife and daughters would actually help him in the forge, doing things like sweeping, emptying the slack tub. Oh, I just have to pause here. Can you hear the bagpipes? You do know you're in Scotland when you hear them. They're beautiful. Okay, back to the scheduled program and my rant about female blacksmiths. So where was I? Yes. So wives and daughters did help out in the forge, and sometimes a blacksmith would be called away to war, because it wasn't just warriors or soldiers who fought in those times. Sometimes they, in fact often, they had to call upon local men to fight as well, because there just wasn't enough resources otherwise. So when he was away, his wife or his daughter would often pick up the slack, and then sometimes if he never returned, they faced destitution if someone didn't actually start doing the work. So that is a situation our heroine Breda finds herself in, because her father has gone blind and her brother is too young to take over the forge. So if she doesn't, then her family risks starvation. And that is how the story begins, with her hard at work in the forge, making a living, not entirely loving it, because it was hard physical work, but she had to for necessity. So I actually have a lull of traffic at the moment on Princess Street, but it won't be long before the next flood of buses race by. So I shall sign off here and wish you all well for the coming month, and I will be back in 4 weeks' time for another update. But before I go, I'll leave you with a few images of Edinburgh Castle. Here is the castle in all the majesty. It's a bit of a grey day, the light isn't fabulous, but I think you will agree it is an amazing view. So that's all from me this time around, and I shall catch up with you all next month.